What's going on, everybody? It's Eagle here, and today we're going to be surviving 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. And I only had one goal coming into this: to build a cozy farm sprawling with life and beautiful builds. This is my first ever 100 days video, so if you guys do enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. But without any further ado, this is 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. Alright, I already know people are gonna ask me what the seed is, and the seed is Taj is a cool fella, which, kind of agree with that statement. Then I disabled fire tick because, fire isn't very fun. Then I added a couple of data packs that'll just make the world a little bit better. Then after all that fancy stuff, we created the world, which then took us into day 1. Then I started the world just as you start any other world, by punching some pumpkins. After hurting my fist pretty bad, I went over and found a nearby tree so that we can hurt our fists even more. Using that newfound wood, I created a crafting table and a wooden pickaxe so that we could get some stone. After getting a full set of stone tools, I went over to this tree and chopped it down. And after chopping down that tree, I also mined up some coal. Then to iron. After mining up a bunch more exposed ores on that surface, I went over to the small island and gathered up some sugarcane. And after doing that, I spotted a sunken ship off in the distance, so I headed over to it. And in the first chest, we found some emeralds, lapis, iron, and even our first diamond. But I knew there was going to be a buried treasure map, so I kept searching and ended up finding it. But then in the other chest, I ended up finding some leather armor and some potatoes, which would be very useful soon. And then using our buried treasure map, we found some gold, iron, emeralds, and some other goodies that will be useful soon. After searching through the night of day 0, we found a village, but also this cool cow on one block of grass in the middle of a pond. Originally, I was thinking this cow is awesome, we're gonna keep him. But I kind of wanted a bundle, and if you know what's in bundles, it's leather. And Mr. Cow had some leather. So after killing a nearby spider for string and also taking out Mr. Cow for some leather, we were able to craft a bundle, which will be very useful. Then after taking out the village's iron golem, we went around gathering up a bunch of various seeds that they had already planted. And after that, we ended up leaving the village, going past an oak forest and entering into a jungle where we gathered up some bamboo, cocoa beans, and some melons. So then after gathering up some saplings, I found this nice open field, which at first I thought would be a great idea to settle down. But then I surveyed the surroundings and thought maybe let's go try to find a little bit of a better area. So that's exactly what I did. After I left, I ended up finding a nice plains village that had a whole lot of wheat in it. But these villagers also had some beetroot seeds, wheat seeds, carrots, and potatoes. But then after venturing throughout the entire night, we came across this big village. And after ransacking the village for everything it had, we went to sleep in this orange bed, which you're going to be seeing a lot this video. But then after searching for a while, we came across this nice area next to the village where I want to build our starter base. I then placed down a classic crafting table with 2 furnaces and some chests because this is home. After unloading all of our junk into our chests, we went around placing all of the saplings that we had. And then we slept, which took us straight into day 4. Day 4 was spent terraforming this tiny bit of area around where we placed the saplings, but then we went up to the top near our starter base, terraforming this whole entire mound of dirt and also clearing out the area for building. Day 5 was mainly spent organizing chests and chopping down the trees that we planted before. Days 6 and 7 I spent building an iron farm, which ended up being the best investment we made in the whole series. Day 8, however, wasn't so eventful, as all we did was terraform a little small area of the village and plant some bamboo to harvest later. Days 9 through 11 were spent terraforming this whole entire area down beneath our starter base because eventually I want to build a couple of custom fields on it. And on day 11 we ended up checking the iron farm to see if it was working, and I'd say it was. And after checking the iron farm, we came over and created a bunch of fences and fence gates because I wanted to create a couple animal farms. And about to the end of day 11, we ended up creating 2 pens that we needed. Day 12, we built the other 2 pens and gathered up all the animals that we needed. And the night of day 12 was spent looting this ruined nether portal I spotted off in the distance. Starting day 13, we ended up chopping down all the bamboo that we had placed previously. Then we ended up making a small sugarcane farm also. Then we went placing carpets on top of the fences and breeding up the animals. On day 14, I went and gathered up a bunch of leaves because I want to use these to outline our crop fields. The rest of day 14 and into day 15 were spent creating this big pathway, which I think brought this area together really well. After creating both of the outlines with the leaves, I ended up going around tilling all of the land and planting all of the seeds and crops that we had at the moment. And towards the end of day 18, I harvested up some bamboo. Day 19, I decided to go out on a journey to find 2 things: spruce wood and dark oak wood. And from days 19 to 21, we did just that, finding some dark oak wood and some spruce wood. Also on the way, we found some mud and some coarse dirt, which is going to come in handy. Once we got home on day 21, we planted all of the excess saplings that we had just found. Then afterwards, we went over to both of our fields and lit them both up with cobblestone walls and lanterns on top, which then took us into day 22. Days 22 through 25 are spent chopping down all of these trees that I had planted previously. But not only that, I also removed all of the pods left behind by the big spruce trees, which meant that I was able to smooth out the entire area. Day 26, I decided to go out and get some moss, as it was going to be used in our starter base. And it was on this journey that we spent a little bit of time gathering up some sand that would be used in our starter base as well. So after going out and searching for some shipwrecks, as they usually have moss in them, I found one. And when I went down there, I found some armor trims and a buried treasure map. But sadly, there wasn't any moss in the nature chest. And soon after, we found the buried treasure chest, which had some goodies. But I kept searching all the way until day 27 hit. But after my shipwreck strategy not working, I used chunk base so that I could find where a lush cave was. On top of gathering just moss, we also gathered up some lapis, redstone, and even diamonds. We even were able to find and capture an axolotl. After leaving the cave victoriously still on day 27, we headed home, which look at this shader shot. After running all the way throughout the night of day 27, we ended up arriving home at the village. And it was there that we slept the night inside of one of the villager houses, taking us into day 28. On day 28, pretty much the only thing I did was harvest our fields and expand them. Also, I guess you could say I bred my animals as well, which is kind of getting crowded over here. On day 29, I decided to take our little mine entrance all the way down to deep slate level, which this will allow us to gather up some resources like diamonds and redstone. On day 30, I spent pretty much the whole day gathering up a bunch of tuff from this giant tuff vein. Then I spent the next 2 days gathering up a bunch of materials to build our starter base. Here are all the materials needed for the starter base gathered, so let's hit the time lapse. You might be wondering why this time lapse is starting halfway through. Well, good old silly me forgot to press record, so here's the second half of the time lapse. Days 34 through 35 were spent doing the entire interior of our starter base, which I think came out pretty well. I tried to keep the upper level a little bit more open at the top so it wasn't just a closed off roof. I was also able to fit in a bunch of chests and storage in here, so this is going to be our main storage house of the whole entire 100 days. The entirety of day 36 was spent organizing chests. We've all seen it before, we've all had to do it. It sucks, but I did it. Through the night of day 36 and into day 37, we made 2 little mini super smelters. Days 38 through 40 were spent expanding our path all the way up to our starter base, adding bushes and lanterns on the side as we went. On day 40, I decided to go and kill a bunch of our cows so that we could get enough leather to create 15 bookshelves for our enchantment setup. So after placing all of our bookshelves down outside, I went inside and crafted up our first ever enchantment table. After placing it down, I enchanted our pickaxe for the first time, which only efficiency 4. Bummer. I then headed over to the village to check our iron farm, but then saw this giant horde of zombies spawn right in front of me. I've never seen this before, and it's kind of weird. But the best part about it was I just let these 2 iron golems come over and beat them all up for me. I sort of felt like Jack Doherty. But then I went to a villager's house and placed down our bed, which meant that we were going into day 41. I started the day by harvesting up some carrots and expanding our carrot field. Afterwards, I destroyed the rest of the potatoes and turned this whole entire field into a carrot field, as within the next couple of days I want to make a dedicated potato field. So after going to sleep on day 41, I spent the entirety of day 42 and a little bit of day 43 terraforming this little area next to our starter base, creating a path over to our mine and even a little retainer wall. The night of day 43, I went around placing fences with lanterns on top. This is going to help us light up our pathway. Then I entered the mines. Days 43 through 44 were spent in the mines. It was here that I uncovered 3 different veins of diamonds, which I will come back later with Fortune 3 to gather. Afterwards, I gathered up a bunch of obsidian. Afterwards, I crafted another diamond pickaxe. Then I enchanted it, which gave us Silk Touch, which is kind of a bummer because I wanted Fortune. But Silk Touch is the most useful thing to have as a builder, so I'm not complaining. Then I went to the Nether to mine up quartz for XP. This is because I want to enchant an iron pickaxe with Fortune 3 to mine the diamonds I found. But here, look, I got the Return to Cinder achievement. After hitting level 30, we returned home on day 45. And look at this, when I put my iron pickaxe in to enchant it, I get Fortune 3. Let's go. So I went down into the mines and mined up all of the diamonds that we had previously found. After that, I started strip mining again. Here are all the diamonds and a little bit of the redstone that I found. Hey you, subscribe. Then on day 46, I headed back up to the surface, extremely victorious from our mining adventure, crafting up a full set of diamond armor and tools. Then I tried testing out my luck with another enchant on a pickaxe, and it was alright. And because I was tired of running to the mine every time I needed to smelt something, I left a couple of furnaces inside of my house. But I didn't like how many there were, so I removed a couple of them. Afterwards, I headed to the Nether again with Fortune 3 so that we could get 3 times the XP from each ore. I wanted some XP so that I could enchant my shovel with efficiency 4. I also gathered up a bunch of glowstone. After returning home, I retired my old set of iron armor. You did me well, my friend. After enchanting one shovel with Unbreaking 3 and another shovel with Efficiency 4, I made an anvil and combined them for Efficiency 4 and Breaking 3. Wow, that was a mouthful. Afterwards, we also combined our Silk Touch and Efficiency 4 and Breaking 3 pickaxes to make a perfect builder pickaxe. Days 48 through 50 were spent terraforming and building a giant potato field, which it doesn't seem like it took that long, but I promise you it did. And it was after that I spent the next 7 days gathering up all of the materials needed to build our windmill. I promise you I'm not skipping much. Here are all the materials needed to build the windmill. Let's do it. And surprisingly, it only took me 1 day to build this windmill, which thank God for Lightmatica. Hey, remember, if you didn't subscribe, do it now. Day 58, I started by mining up all of our bookshelves and moving them into our new windmill. Part of the reason I wanted to build this windmill was to have a place to do our enchantment setup. And now we have a proper enchantment setup. Let's go. The rest of day 58 was spent putting bushes around some lampposts just so that I can make the path look a little bit better. On day 58, I went around lighting up the area by putting torches under moss carpets. After that, I also went around bone milling the place just to make it look more alive. Day 60, I was accidentally AFK, and day 61, I created this outline of this field I wanted to build. I spent days 61 and 62 making a retainer wall and tilling all of the land. I then spent the night of day 62 and the morning of day 63 planting all of the potatoes. Day 63, I gathered up a bunch of spruce leaves so that I could build some custom trees near my starter base. And the rest of day 64 was spent building these 3 custom trees and adding a little bit of foliage around the starter base to make it look more homely. And then I went to sleep, which took us straight into day 65. On day 65, I thought that our mine needed a proper entrance, so I spent pretty much the entirety of that day doing just that. And after seeing how it came out, I think it was super worth it. I also went over and removed the pathway part and made the stone extrude out a little bit more. And after that, I thought that the inside could also use a little bit of work, so I added some gateways so that mobs can't get in, and I also added a little bit of an archway. On day 66, I went and chopped down a bunch of the spruce, oak, and acacia trees that I had behind my base. I'm planning on building a massive barn, so all of this wood is going to be really helpful. We started day 67 by heading over and checking the iron farm, which seems to be working pretty well. I also took out a couple of iron golems because I thought they were affecting my spawn rates of the iron farm. The night of day 67 all the way until the night of day 69 were spent gathering up a bunch of materials to build our giant barn. Here are the materials needed to build this giant barn, and without any further ado, let's get into the time lapse. I started by building up the base out of stone bricks, mossy cobble, and andesite. Then the top level is made mostly out of spruce wood and oak wood. Also, I wanted to keep the deep slate roof theme out of our whole entire village and make another big deep slate roof. After that, we ended up going and putting some dirt in the middle of our coarse dirt pathway inside of the barn. And after that, we were missing one thing, and that was animals. So days 71 through 72 were spent getting all of our animals into the barn. Days 72 through 75 were spent terraforming this ugly area next to our barn, and I think it made it look so much better. Getting rid of that little ravine helped me merge our area with the area behind it. And after that, we also went and terraformed this area next to our starter base so that we can eventually build a custom field there. But oh no, we didn't stop there, because days 75 through 77 were spent building a massive wheat field, which brought this area together very well. You can also see that I went around placing coarse dirt around the pathways just to make it merge into the grass a little bit better. Days 78 through 80 were spent in the mines gathering up a bunch of useful resources. The main resource we were trying to find was coal ore, because this is going to be used in the grain silos that we are going to build. But we ended up leaving with a whole lot of diamonds. Day 80 was spent gathering up a bunch of materials to build one of the 3 grain silos. After doing that, we built up this nice little fountain. And now that we had all of our materials gathered, we can go over and build up the first grain silo. And after finishing, we added a little bit of a pole that extrudes out and goes into the ground. I also then realized that I kind of forgot to give the sheep some grass, which is going to be a problem in a little bit. I then spent the rest of day 81 collecting a bunch of light gray dye flowers so that I could run around, dye some sheep, and shear them for more light gray wool. I then spent the night of day 81 gathering materials, because on day 82, we built up the second grain silo. I then went around shearing more sheep and gathering up more materials, because we're not done yet. I am going to build a third grain silo. So day 83 was spent doing just that, building the third and final grain silo. And then I thought, since we're not going to be using the coal to build anymore, I might as well mine it all up. And after we were done mining all that up, we went around the barn adding a bunch of hay bales with campfires on them just to add a little bit of detail. And then I decided, hey, I want to spend the next 3 days terraforming this entire area to the left of our starter base. This made this area look 10 times better. It is actually unbelievable how much better it made it look. Days 87 through 89 were spent chopping down all of the trees that I had behind my base, which has given us a lot of materials to use to build our greenhouse. Days 89 through 91 were spent gathering materials to build a greenhouse. I promise you, it's super boring, just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So we took our materials and went to build up the greenhouse. I spent day 92 adding a bunch of leaves and different kinds of shrubbery inside of the greenhouse just to make it feel a little bit more alive. The goal is to get some bees in here. And then on day 93, I built a nice custom path all the way up to our greenhouse. Days 94 through 95 were spent building this custom sugarcane field, which I think came out really well. Days 95 through 97 were spent building up a bunch of custom trees around our area to fill it out. And it really hit home because I knew this was the final stretch of the 100 days. On day 98, I headed over to our forest biome that we've been going to recently and tried to find a beehive because I don't have any in my greenhouse. But I kid you not, after spending the entirety of day 98 searching, I only found one beehive and there wasn't even a bee in it. So after searching some more for some bees, I decided to just head home. But oh my gosh, looking at this view, oh, I'm falling in love with this place, man. But after sleeping and coming out on day 99, look at this view that we had. That has got to be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in Minecraft. Take it in with me. Afterwards, I went into the greenhouse and put in our beehive that had no bees in it. I mean, it's for the aesthetic, right? I then placed a bunch of glowberries inside just to add a little bit more natural light and overgrowth. I also added a couple of drip leaves, and finally added in a bunch of flowers. I then put flowers under all of the spruce trees that we built. And after that, I headed over to our enchantment windmill so that I could add in a spore blossom. Then I went around and detailed the path with some flowers. And then the final thing that we did on day 99 was mine up all of the diamonds that we found earlier in our old mining session. And finally, I went out and watched the sunset on day 99, ending our journey. Just take it in. Then we headed to sleep, taking us right into day 100. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but I was pretty excited. Alright guys, what's going on? It's Live Eagle here. I was thinking I should take you guys on a little bit of a tour of everything we've been able to do in this 100 days. Starting with this is our humble beginnings. I absolutely adore this starter house. It is one of my favorite starter houses I've ever built. I love the shutters and I also love the windows. Also, you can see these custom spruce trees that I built up. Coming down, you can see our little potato field on the left, and to our right, you can see our custom wheat field. When you keep coming down the path, you can see this nice little fountain that we have. And going on this path, this is the original from the very beginning of the video. To the left we have our wheat field, and to the right we have our carrot field. And over here we have these super beautiful grain silos. They look a little bit strange up close because there's a bunch of weird blocks, but when you go super far away and look at it from a distance, you can tell how it merges from dark to light, and I absolutely love it. Then heading down the path a little bit more, we come up to our big windmill. I give credit where credit is due, and this windmill blade design was by a guy named Flip. He's my favorite YouTuber, you should go and watch him. But going inside of the windmill, we can come up this scaffolding right here and see our enchantment setup. On day 99, I added this little spore blossom and it adds so much. But yeah, I don't think we even used this enchantment setup a single time. Every time we used it, it was over there next to our starter house. But coming up here, arguably my favorite part of this whole entire world is up here, this little watch area. There's this nice little table I added in, and if you look out this way, you can watch all of the villagers as they're roaming around. Looking this way, you can see the field, and looking this way, you can see our starter house. But leaving there, if you keep going going down the path, it just leads over to our iron farm. We didn't really do anything with the villagers. But when we come back towards this area, we can see our big barn. I love all of the details with the hay bales and the campfires I added out here. It makes it look so nice. And I love how this path merges into the course dirt. Coming inside, you can realize that I forgot to give our sheep some grass, so that's a little bit embarrassing. And over here, we have our cows, which are living a very happy life. And then obviously our chickens and our pigs. But when you come up this little makeshift staircase over here, we can come out to this little watch area, and maybe we can jump over here. Yeah, we can. So now we're on the grain. But jumping down from there, we can come down the path even more to our potato field. And to the right, our newly added sugarcane field. Before, this area was super flat, and adding these 3 custom trees, or 4 if you're counting that one, and this sugarcane field, it makes the area come together so much better. But then you come to the left here to our little mine entrance. That is the only mine staircase that we use this whole entire series. To our left, we have our nether portal, and inside of here, we have our 2 little mini super smelters. But leaving there, coming up the path to probably the final thing of this tour is our greenhouse. As I said before, we couldn't find any bees, so that kind of sucked. But on the inside, I love how the glow berries are hanging really far. It makes this area look so lush and overgrown, and I love the aesthetic. But with that being said, guys, that was 100 days survived in hardcore Minecraft. I made the video a little bit shorter because I assumed you guys would probably want to see stuff happen quicker, because I know I do. But yeah, I absolutely loved recording this video. I hated editing it though. So if you guys do enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys give this video a bunch of love, I might consider making 200 days. Also, I just got monetized on YouTube, and I'm so thankful. Everybody that's been tuning into the streams and all of our videos are so appreciated. And I just unlocked super thanks as well. So if you guys want to support your boy out, I mean, I'm here. We're gonna try to get some memberships going soon as well. So as soon as I unlock that, I will get that rolling. But just as I said earlier, guys, that was 100 days survived in hardcore Minecraft. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and Jesus loves you. See you later.